With the release of Avengers Endgame, I thought this would be a great opportunity to give my personal top 10 list on my favorite films in the MCU. This will be a fairly quick video, but will give you the general impressions I have on these 10. So without further ado, here are my top 10 favorite MCU films. Number 10 goes to Captain America: The First Avenger. Yeah, it's not the best story, and yeah, the effects are not perfect, but in regards to the story, it does give us a good idea of who Steve Rogers is and how he grows into the role of Captain America. Even Red Skull, though very basic, is a fun, cheesy villain that is played excellently by Hugo Weaving. It's very similar to the comic book film The Rocketeer, which was directed by the same man who directed this film, Joe Johnston. Plus, I admitted a large majority of why it's on the list is the whole war bond sequence. It's so hilarious and captures what Captain America was in the real world at the time: propaganda. Like I said, not the best and not the most serious, but it's easily one of the most fun. For number 9, we have Black Panther. I know that a lot of people might be mad at me for putting it near the bottom, but again, it's still in my top 10 and I enjoy rewatching it. In general, I think Chadwick Boseman is a terrific actor, with the first film I saw him in, 42, proving that. He plays his character 100% differently than he did for Jackie Robinson, and it's easy to see Boseman lose himself into playing a character instead of playing himself, which is a trap some actors fall into. I was greatly impressed with the setup of Wakanda and the beauty of the costumes and effects, and it even had a compelling villain, which is sometimes the greatest weakness of a lot of these Marvel films. The action is very well choreographed, and the ensemble cast gets a lot of great moments to shine, with my favorite being M'Baku. It's a great film and easily one I think a lot of MCU fans will say is among their favorites. We've got the one that started it all, Iron Man at number 8. No one probably saw Robert Downey Jr. as being able to make a comeback in real life, and there was no way any of us saw what was going to come a few years later. This film is partially on the list because of how it started the MCU, but it's also a damn good film on its own, with an amazing lead actor, outstanding visual effects, and the dude himself, Jeff Bridges. It also helped make Iron Man, the character, get widespread attention. I'm sure Iron Man was rarely, if ever, brought up amongst the general public when talking about superheroes, but now he's arguably more popular than Captain America. What more can I say? It's an outstanding film and an outstanding beginning to what was to come. Infinity War arrives at number 7. And speaking of the word outstanding, that's also what this one is. This film had to connect almost all of the previous films and characters together, give them all something to do, and characterize a villain we knew little to nothing about. If you were skeptical of Marvel being able to shove in the characters they had to for the first Avenger film, can you imagine how they had to handle not just them, but the Guardians of the Galaxy as well? Well, the Russo brothers miraculously pulled it off, and also gave a lot of depth to a villain whose motivations were entirely vague before this film. It's great seeing certain characters work off one another, such as Doctor Strange and Tony Stark, or the Guardians and Thor. There's a lot of great action, drama, and a very damn impressive ending. Good job, Marvel. For number 6, we have the first film the Russo brothers directed for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, that being Captain America: The Winter Soldier. There are certain genres that Marvel likes to implement into their films. The Ant-Man films involve heists, Thor films are more fantasy, but this Captain America film is more of a political thriller and feels like you're watching a Bourne or Mission Impossible film. There are a ton of twists and turns, although there's really no mystery as to who the Winter Soldier is. And the film isn't all one big joke about Steve Rogers being a fish out of water. Thankfully, we move past that pretty fast. But there are a lot of great ethical discussions in the film, which are in turn balanced out by the action and a little bit of comedy. It's considered one of the best for a damn good reason, and I salute it. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 rocks in at number 5. James Gunn brings back the same style of humor and songs he gave us in the first film and expands upon it. While I won't say that it's funnier than the first film, I think it's safe to say it's more emotionally moving than the first film, with themes of family sprinkled throughout it. And I know that sounds cliche, but it's true. There's Peter and his relationships with his biological father Ego, as well as his adoptive father Yondu. There's Yondu being abandoned by both biological and adoptive families. Drax states that the Guardians are a family, while also coping with the loss of his own. And there's also the revelation that Nebula simply wanted to be the sister to Gamora. See? It really is a film about family. Enough said. Ragnarok strikes at number 4. I'll be perfectly honest, before this film, I cared very little for Thor. Hell, I liked Hawkeye more. Sorry for that. But then this film came along and was directed by Taika Waititi, the director of What We Do in the Shadows, and new life was given to both the Thor films and Thor himself. There's more humor, no dumb love interest, and like I said, more of a personality to Thor, who is now very likable, funnier, and someone that I understand a bit more. Sorry, a whole bunch of things that rhyme with Thor. Color, which was something lacking in the last film, is given with great homages to Jack Kirby. Throw in some of the Planet Hulk storyline, Jeff Goldblum, and you have yourself a great reintroduction to Thor and the possibilities that can continue with him. Oh boy, here we go. Captain America Civil War addresses a criticism about some superhero films, which is, how many innocent people die because of these large-scale fights? The film answers that and tries to provide a solution in the form of the Avengers working for the government. One side agrees with this, that being led by Tony Stark, and another side, led by Captain America, which disagrees with it. There's great points on both sides, more secrets are revealed, along with 2 new characters, Black Panther and Spider-Man. And there's also a villain who isn't all-powerful or wants to destroy everything. He's simply a mortal man who is able to take down these mighty beings. Who would have ever thought that the Captain America series would be the best one in the MCU? Not this soldier. Dancing into the number 2 spot is Guardians of the Galaxy. Being dead serious for a moment, I had no faith in this film. I thought that the MCU was going to die because of this film alone. A talking tree and a raccoon? Come on. I've never even heard of these characters, and neither did a majority of average people. Yet, who would have guessed that not only were we all dead wrong, but that the Guardians would be one of the more popular aspects of this whole franchise. It was the pure definition of fun. Fun characters, fun songs, and fun action sequences. No 2 characters are alike, and each one has not only enough moments to really stand out, but you also get where every single one of them comes from. Well, maybe not Groot, but I don't know, that's debatable. And again, the music are not only good song selections, but are placed at appropriate times and don't play too long. It's funny that the film I had the least amount of interest in for Phase 2 turned out to be my favorite one. Talk about an underdog story. Now let me assemble the reasons as to why my all-time favorite MCU film is the First Avengers. It was the first crossover between all the superheroes. Each one had their own movie and were all set up. Even though Black Widow and Hawkeye didn't have their own films, they were still set up in Iron Man 2 and Thor, so I was still able to recognize them. The popular villain Loki is our main antagonist. We have a triumphantly beautiful Avengers theme from Alan Silvestri, and loads of comedy added by director Joss Whedon, who is usually hit or miss, but I think he knew exactly what to do with this film. The characters bounce off each other extremely well. Again, there's a great amount of action set pieces, and it defied all expectations. I don't think many people, with myself included, actually thought an Avengers film would ever work or even be made, but once again, Marvel proved us wrong. They even sold a lot of people on new Hulk actor, Mark Ruffalo, though I do know some people who prefer Edward Norton. Not only was this film noticed as a success by audiences, other studios took great note of it, and now we have a whole bunch of studios trying to create their own cinematic universes. Isn't that adorable? And that's why I think this is the best film in the franchise, because of the cultural impact it has made on cinema. Say what you will about superhero fatigue, this film sent shockwaves throughout the industry, and I think that's why this film not only stays strong to this day, but why it is the most important and my personal favorite MCU film. Those are my top 10 favorite MCU films. I know there will be a lot of differing opinions, but I would love to read your top 10 favorites in the comments. Until then, stay strong, true believers, and Excelsior! Thanks, this is O.M.M, signing out.